The goal of this podcast is to help you break in and thrive in advertising. And we do that every single week by sharing the stories and advice of those rocking it on the other side. One way you can help us to help you is by giving us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify. There's a little star icon. When I'm talking to prospective guests, stars in this industry, I can point to the amount of ratings that we have, this many listeners, and they'll be more inclined to come on. That's how I got on this combo episode today. 2 amazing women in this industry. I'm stoked to have the leaders of one of the newer agencies on everyone's lips, and that is Schaaf. We have Kendra Schaaf, founder and CEO, and her creative partner and ECD, Meg Farquhar, on Breaking and Entering today. Kendra has built a decades-long reputation for helping some of the most awarded advertising agencies, from BBH to Droga5 to her most recent role as the managing director of Mojo Supermarket, where she scaled the independent agency from 3 people to 75 employees in 3 years, with $20 million in annual revenue. Now enter Meg, Kendra's creative counterpart, who puts trust and partnership at the core of everything she does. It's been the foundation of over 15 years of creative leadership and behind the work for Molson Coors, Unilever, Cadbury, Meta, Planned Parenthood, and I'm sure more. So together, Meg and Kendra, they are the female duo leading Schaaf, joining the less than 1% of advertising agencies that are owned by women. As a creative consultancy, Schaaf is reimagining engineering the way that agencies should be run today. So you're going to want to connect with these 2. If you listen, they share how to do that. I can be the conduit to them. If you reach out to me on LinkedIn, I'm happy to do that, or with any of our past guests. Sounds good? Sounds good to me. Now on with the show. This is the Breaking and Entering Advertising Podcast, and as usual, I'm your accomplice, Gino Schellenberger. Kick it, Mikey. All right, Meg Farquhar and Kendra Schaaf, welcome to the Breaking and Entering Advertising Podcast. How the heck are you 2 doing today?
We're doing well. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, fireworks are going off.
So much celebration for our arrival.
Heck yeah. Meg, how you doing?
Doing well. It's, snowing in April, so we always have strong feelings on these days, but it's good.
I record a podcast with Brian Bonilla, who is a reporter at Ad Age, and we talked about Schaaf Agency. And we talked about that. I think it was one of our main headlines of the week a few episodes ago. So I'm excited to kind of dive in with both of you, talk about your agency, and talk about your advice for aspiring advertisers. How does that make you feel?
Flattered. Completely
Pretty
flattered.
excited. Yeah.
Great. Who wants to kick things off? Tell me about yourself, your role in the agency.
Well, it's got Kendra's name on the door, so she should go.
It's good.
Yeah,
it's a good name. It's a good name.
Thank you. What can I say? I've spent my whole career in advertising. With the exception of a short stint at the New York Times, I've always worked for agencies.
What did you do at the New York Times?
I was working in the advertising department and helping with branded experiences.
Gotcha.
So I was doing that just before COVID.
It's adjacent.
Yeah, it's adjacent. Exactly. I got into advertising because at the advice of a career coach named Ramona Barber, who advised that I pursue it because it was equal parts creative and business and commerce.
Nice. I love that one.
Yeah, right. And it made sense. And so I took her advice and finished school in advertising and moved out to LA and started my career at Chiat Day.
I read that in the 2 Minutes article. It changed your life.
It changed the whole life.
Forever changed your life at TBWA Chiat Day, LA.
It was the first I became a pirate. That's
Right.
It was the first time I had met people who were incredibly weird and imaginative, be really successful and really fucking good at what they did. And it was really inspiring.
What is your role today?
Today, I have a lot of roles. As the founder of this company, I'm focused on finding incredibly talented people to work with, both in terms of employees and contractors, and also marketing clients, and chart our path forward and make sure what we're doing is sustainable and delivers against my vision and our mission, which is to help brands and businesses connect with their people, with their audiences.
Love it. When did you found this business?
August of 2023. So about 9 months ago now.
Got it. We'll get more into this. Meg, how do you fold in the mix here? What's your story? How did you get into advertising?
Yeah.
What do you do here?
Well, oh wow, lots of questions. Okay.
Yeah.
So
It's been a long day.
No.
We're gonna get this. We're just gonna unfold as we go here.
If I miss anything, let me know.
Yeah.
I actually started my career in Brazil. I started at Ogilvy under Anselmo Ramos when he was an ECD there, making his grand, quiet return to Brazil and deciding to run things the way they do in America. I know my accent gives it away that's where I started.
Gotcha. Where did you go to? Did you study this stuff? How did you end up there?
Miami Ad School. So I was in Miami Ad School in Miami, and then first quarter away, which is something they used to have. I don't think exists anymore. But back in the Stone Ages, you got to do quarter away. I went to Ogilvy, and at that time, they were doing just a great job of bringing global talent in. And I think it was somebody from Colombia, somebody from Argentina, and somebody from India that went with me at that time. So it was a really diverse crew. And then we won the U.S. Hispanic business for Coca-Cola, and they asked me to stay. And I ended up spending the first 4 years of my career hanging out in São Paulo with what would end up being some really great leaders in advertising all over the world now.
Two amazing agencies to start off at. I mean, TBWA and Ogilvy. And what were your specific roles? Meg, what was your role when you first broke in?
I was a copywriter. Still will attempt my hand at it when the opportunity arises. But now I'm running creative, helping Kendra set the vision, find the people, inspire the clients. And I don't know, we're doing a big experiment just to see if we can make advertising a really amazing place to be.
I like that experiment. Hopefully it proves that it is. Kendra, how about you? What was your first role?
I had a title that doesn't exist anymore.
Let's hear it.
It was account group assistant, also known as AGA. So I guess it's like a junior account manager. And I started on the visa business. At the time, it was the campaign. Chiat had just sold in More People Go with Visa. And Morgan Freeman was the voiceover, and it was this global campaign. And this was before digital files were really prevalent. So I think I spent most of my time shipping tapes all over the world so that our commercials could air on local networks.
Got it. That's a great campaign to be a part of. But
it's really neat to think about.
So did you stick down the account track in your career?
Yeah, I never strayed from it. I enjoyed it. I thought for a while about becoming a producer, but I couldn't stand the idea of working with a shitty account person. So I decided just to be the best account person that I could be.
I get the producer calling the itch a little bit sometimes, but I feel like I satisfy that with the show and like the podcast in my free time.
Yeah, I get that. And I satisfy that with building teams and facilitating processes and whatnot.
Gotcha. And Meg, you stuck down copywriting, you said?
Yeah. Yep. stuck down copywriting, rode
If
that.
you had to pick another route to go, what would it be in advertising?
That's tough. Probably strategy. I mean, I'm a tortured strategist anyways. I keep my hand in their business, maybe a little bit much for their liking. Kendra at one point was like, I don't know, we can keep looking for strategists and you can just do the job until we find our right one, because it's a second calling probably.
In Meg, Gina, you know how like all agencies have the 4 C's, how they do strategy. Like, we'll get to the brand role through company, culture, consumer, and category. Usually it's this long, protracted process, or it takes a couple weeks or whatnot. In Meg's second week of working at Schaaf, she texted me of 4 C's for a project that we were working on, just casually.
That's what we like.
That's what we like.
Incredible.
Why not?
Got it.
Like the strategist.
Kendra, you hinted at production, but if you had to pick another route, going back
within advertising, I would be production, and probably specifically film. Yeah.
I want to know, I guess, leading up to both of you being a part of Schaaf agency today, I guess, what were some of the big lessons, big like turning points in your career leading up to right before the transition, before you jumped ship and started this project? Can you like bullet those like main points like leading up to your career? Kendra, starting with you, because I see Mojo on here.
Well, I've worked for this point. At this point in my career, I've worked for a lot of different companies, and so there was this time of working for companies in LA, and then there was this time of working for companies in New York. And I believe that I've spent my whole career chasing creativity and chasing people who can harness it and who can facilitate that. The before and after, though, is really the experience of building and running a company. Like, it's one thing to build a campaign or to build a team or to build an department, but standing up a company is completely different and new experience. So that, for me, that was like a big inflection point. And once I had that experience, because I'm entrepreneurial, because I wanted to see a place that was the manifestation of all of the things that I'd learned that were really great to the extent that's feasible, I couldn't not create my own agency.
Where did you build your first department at?
That would probably be some combination of BBH New York, New York Times.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And you caught the bug, did you, like, when you first developed that department, or that, you had your team that you were leading, did you know right then and there this is something?
Yeah, organizational design is really interesting to me, like how people work together, the casting, the dynamics that you're able to create.
Yeah, it is an art.
It is.
Did you know right then, you're like, okay, I'm going to start an agency one day?
Yeah. Well, I think I always knew that.
When did you realize?
I remember telling people, there's this copywriter who I love, Alex Bayless, shout out to Alex, who I've known since I was very young in advertising. And she reminded me that, and this was back in LA, this was at Crispin, back in LA when they had an LA office. She reminded me that I used to say, I just need to get older and then people will take me seriously. Which is to say, I always had big ambition, and that's probably why I spend so much time today mentoring and trying to facilitate young people and their dreams and their vision, because you have it. You either have it or you don't have it.
I've heard people say that. And yeah, I say that to myself sometimes too.
Yeah.
So I love that you're kind of fostering that, and you're here today. You did it. Congrats.
Thank you. It's a long journey, but it's very fulfilling.
And Meg, what about you? Some of those big career lesson points, either when you've accelerated or a big transition. Give me like the big
Yeah.
highlights of your career.
I mean, like the biggest one was just getting to learning to run an agency when I was at Ogilvy in Canada, as that first chief creative officer role. I got to work all over the place. I've worked in Minnesota and Chicago. I've helped build different offices, but realizing that the decisions were mine and that things were gonna fail or succeed on my back, and there was no like blaming the system, anything, but the choices and the vision were mine. That was the first time that I really felt that rush. And I had just the most incredible partners at Ogilvy in Canada. And that for me was like, I knew that I could build something beautiful if I had the right partner. And I knew that if I had somebody who loved the work and loved the industry as much as I did, that, I mean, anybody can have a great idea, right? Like great ideas are just floating in the ether. You just pull it down. But to actually make something great and sell something great takes trust. And I had such incredible trust there that I think I was chasing the dragon on that one, from the time I left Ogilvy until I met Kendra. And it was like one of those things where we met and I was just like, that's the dragon. Like, she's got this. She's gonna build a transparent and safe space for creativity. And we're going to pull these ideas down and then they're going to get to come into the world because she trusts the process and she loves the process as much as I do.
Where'd you guys meet?
The internet.
How?
It's like we're twins. Well,
I mean, I met you guys on the internet too. So.
yeah. The truth is that I reached out to Meg and cold. I sent her an email and I said, do you remember what I said?
I'm looking for an ECD. Are you interested?
And Meg thought I was a recruiter.
Just said Kendra Schaaf, founder.
Kind of sounds like a recruiter message to me.
Yeah.
Yep.
But it turned out it wasn't.
It wasn't. It worked. That was after meeting with a ton of people who were incredibly talented.
Why her? Here we go.
Let's
do this.
Meg loves when we do this.
Let's
do this
do
about once every 3 weeks.
I'll get teary-eyed. I get so emotional at this stuff. Go.
Please.
I have interviewed so many people in my career. And for this role specifically, it had to be someone who thinks big and is in it for the long haul. Someone who can also like pick up a pencil and come up with ideas and be comfortable with me sitting next to them and digging into the process and being very hands-on. If you want to start a company and you don't like being hands-on, you should start a company. You want something different. So I needed someone who was comfortable like zooming out and operating at a really high altitude and then zooming back in and doing that like 1,000 times a day. Also someone very strategic. Also someone who has an innate sense of and respect for leadership, for what it means to foster a healthy working environment today, who understands that remote and distributed working styles are modern, are the way the world is going, and that, I mean, I could go on that, but like we all have this 100-year bias that productivity has to be accomplished in a certain space. I wanted someone who doesn't have disdain for marketers, but sees them as a facilitator for great thinking, partnership.
You're talking about like on the actual marketers on the brand side?
Yeah, clients.
Yeah, exactly. And who's fun and lighthearted, and that's Meg. And there is actually no one else for this job.
Let's go, Meg.
Go me.
Go Meg.
And how long has it been again?
We've been working together since she started full-time in January.
Nice. And let's go over the positioning, mission, vision, values, name. Give me the rundown. How does that work? Building that brand, producing it, and then say that you actually can do this for other people and you should trust us with your dollars and your brands. How do you do that? What goes in your mind? How about that?
I've become a much more empathetic business partner to brands since starting this company, because I understand firsthand how it feels to have a limited budget and really big ambition, and have to be so how you have to be so choiceful about how you spend it and what you do and how you talk about yourself. This company started in August of last year of 2023, but we didn't actually talk about it. We didn't actually speak openly about it through the press until February of 2023.
How did it not leak?
It wasn't that we were keeping it secret. It's that we just weren't talking about it. There were marketers who knew, and we were talking with brands, and we were working on projects like Savage Fenty and a few other things, but we didn't, I don't know, no one reported on it, which was brilliant because
you didn't have Elizabeth. Did you have
exactly.
Elizabeth at this time?
Elizabeth. I need to give Elizabeth her
shout out.
Her flower.
I love PR people. That's what I do for
she's incredibly gifted. And it was very intentional to not have press or a press strategy until we had our brand in place.
Right.
Until we had a really clear sense of our capabilities. And honestly, that took 7 months.
7 months, you had creds established, you figured out your brand, and you landed on...
We landed on Schaaf. That's my last name.
Right. But also the brand consultancy.
It's a brand consultancy.
So we got your name, we got brand consultancy. Those are two big portions of this.
Yeah.
Balloons.
We also
Chiat.
have a hand talker. We also landed on our mission, which is to help brands connect with their people. It's very straightforward. We also landed on, I guess you call it like our tagline. I don't know what to call this, Meg. But we define ourselves as people who get people.
People who get,
It's really our ethos.
Got it. Those are so important. I mean, I'm doing this with breaking and entering. I'm thinking about all these things, and I'm thinking about all the past. I've been doing this for 4 years now, as of this month, and we haven't missed an episode. I've been thinking about it every single day for the past 4 years and trying to write this stuff down. And I do this. I learned this stuff in school, but I could do this for other people. I love like being the third person, the neutral third party. And then when I have to do an introspection on the brand that I love so much, it's like I hit a wall.
Oh, Kendra and I both bought houses, and neither of us have done any updating in them. Like it's so hard to take care of your own house, and you can decorate everybody else's, right? Like it's the same thing with the brand. We beat this stuff up, and it was so hard to keep it simple. It was so hard to keep it clear and single-minded. And I think we both would go away, and then I would get an email at 3 a.m. that was called The Way Forward, and it was just regrounding us in everything that Kendra had in her head that made her start this whole thing. And then we're like, all right, let's go back and do it again. And it's really not easy to do it for yourself, but it is really rewarding when you start to have conversations with brand marketers and they're like, that clicks, that connects, that is what I'm looking for, and I'm not hearing it.
It comes so clean to me too. When I go to your website, I'm looking at the banner on your LinkedIn's. It's clean. It makes sense to me. And the press, that the earned media that you're getting off it, including this podcast right now, the story is just coming through. And like when Brian and I were talking about it, you got Ad Age reporters talking about it. That's also a great thing too. So I want to just congratulate you both. Like, and have to ask, the name being the last name of you, I believe it's your last name, Kendra, as I look at
it is
at your name here. rationale, reasons. Are you scared? That's your name. You got a lot riding on this now. We don't see this in the modern day as much.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's not true, but.
No, I would agree with you, particularly when you think about female founders. There are, I can think of less than 5, maybe only one agency founded by women who, I'm thinking of Terry and Sandy.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, wavelength. Who've named an agency after themselves. And there's a few things in there to unpack it. Like, one is, this is very personal for me. This is not a company that I want to sell or walk away from. My name is on the door. I take pride in that. It means something to the people who come and work for us and with us. It holds me accountable. So there's that. There's also, this was an opportunity to give women a face in this industry. Women who have historically been overlooked or often been overlooked, and hopefully function as a source of inspiration for others to invest in themselves, to invest in their legacy, to just take a chance.
Wonderful. I love it. I think as we're talking about branding and learning from you both, one lesson or one area I would love to ask you guys about is how should the audience, knowing our people that want to get into advertising, how should they brand themselves, or what can they do to differentiate themselves today to catch the attention of people like you both to get jobs, to get started?
That's such a good question, Gino. And, right now we're working mostly with freelance talent. And we're doing that both by necessity of starting something new and not having a bunch of AORs, but we're also doing it very intentionally because the briefs that we're getting are quite specific, and they're very specific to a need. And we look at this incredible, multiple decades of experience that the two of us have, and all the incredible people that we've been playing fantasy agency league with in our minds over the years. And we're like, who will nail this? Who is just going to knock this thing out of the park right away? And it's really easy for us to just go problem solution and pull in that individual who's got the category down and has the culture down and could just plug in and help us get there really fast. And so I'm not saying to become subject matter experts for everyone. You need to be specialized, but know what you're really, really great at. And so I go to somebody's about page before I even look at their work, because I want to know if they know what they're really good at. And if they're like, I'm a generalist and I've worked somewhere for 6 months and done 2 internships. I'm like, you're a generalist for what? I don't care if it's you played field hockey in college. I'm like, okay, at least then I know if we got an Adidas brief, I'd call you. So knowing who you are and knowing what you care about and knowing how you want to position yourself in this world, that doesn't mean you're not going to be able to grow and stretch and change, because we all do. But that helps us a lot to pull somebody in and see how they fit in and see their potential quickly when we're bringing in a lot of different people in a kind of dynamic way.
I like that. Yeah, the brand comes to mind of the people that you want to hire. And I tell students all the time, if you're a copywriter, you need to be good at copywriting. That should be your craft. And, what else are you good at? What are you interested in? Those should pull through as well in your about section. The fundamentals are super important early on for when they're starting off in this industry. And then it's the cool stuff. Did you play a sport, or did you play guitar? Do you write songs? That should shine through as well. Kendra, anything you want to build off of with this early advertising talent?
Yeah. I think a couple of things come to mind. Don't stay in your lane. Also, yes, know what you're good at, but don't stay in your lane.
When you get into the industry?
Yeah, explore everything. Be a part of everything.
Yep.
Ask a lot of questions. Ask the dumb questions. That will help you be a better partner to your team. It will make you, it's very humbling. It will help you understand the world faster. I would also say, oh God, I don't know if people still say this, but people used to say, that's above my pay grade.
I've heard that. I might have actually said that recently.
Oh, don't say that. Nothing's above your pay grade. If you want to progress, you have to be willing to use your brain to solve big and small problems every day. And you shouldn't be afraid of that. And you shouldn't leave it to other people, because if you put that on someone else, guess what? Someone else will solve it. And then who are you?
Mm-hmm.
So I really think hard work, asking questions, getting out of your lane, getting uncomfortable is really important.
True that. I'll tell you offline why I said that.
It was probably for a really good reason.
Yeah.
Gino's going to redeem himself.
Amazing. What else do you guys want to talk about? I think we hit, not everything we can cover, but what did I not ask? What do you guys want to bring up? What are you dying to tell the world and our listeners of aspiring advertisers how to do this stuff? What are you guys thinking?
I mean, if I'm talking back to the beginning of my career, nobody really wanted to work at Ogilvy in Sao Paulo when I was there. It was like,
that sounds wild to me.
Kind of a mediocre place to be. And like at that time there was like Almop and FNASCA, like DM9, DDB, like those were the shops. They were the ones who had the coolest clients. And then like years later, DM9 didn't exist anymore. It's now reopened. But like to think that like when I got my start, people were like, oh, okay, yeah, Ogilvy, whatever. But Anselmo came in and he had a vision for what he could make it. And, he took his time there, and then he built David, and then he went on and built Gut. Working for him made some of the best advertising leaders in the world. And so I think people have it in their head, oh, I have to go work at this agency. I have to go work at that agency. I need the name. What name? Like, what level? Where do I get in to like get myself supercharged for the future? And I would argue it's not where, it's who. And it's who's going to watch out for you? Who's going to push you? Who are you, like, what's the context of the team that they're building that you want to be part of? That matters so much more than, oh, I got this big A-list agency on my resume first. Because I've known plenty of people who came out of the gates into a really, really great agency and then never went anywhere with it.
True. The name of the agency usually stays the same, but people move around. But Kendra's not going to be moving around because the name of the agency is her name.
Last step on the train.
I'm going to die here, people. I would say as well that there's this shift in talent at agencies, and there are people who are entering our industry. Who was it? The appointment of the TikTok executive to Anomaly. Is that it? Did I just get that wrong?
You probably got
Sounds
it right.
about right to me. There's a TikTok executive at an agency. Is that correct?
There's an ad agency. I think it's Anomaly. Could be wrong. That just hired a marketer from TikTok.
Oh, yeah.
Jeff Stamp.
Jeff Stamp.
Yeah.
CEO of Anomaly.
So there's
Anomaly. You are correct.
So there's this new blending. This isn't new, but once again, there's this blending of brand people and advertising people and media people and journalists that's really exciting. And it's shaking up where we find people and how we find people. And I don't know, I think there's a lot there. It's something, it makes creativity feel more expansive and connected. And that's something I think Meg and I need to figure out is like, how do we keep the door open for those people and those conversations as things become more fluid, as brands look to creators instead of agencies, right? Like all trends and things are probably here to stay for a while, at least.
I agree. It's definitely a great call out. I should probably get that person on the show. So,
yeah, do it.
You two, amazing. How can people reach out to you both? If they want to ask you questions, is that allowed? Like they want
Oh yeah.
I
advice?
had people reach out to me all the time, and I always try to take the call. That's for people new, like
Aspiring advertisers.
aspiring advertisers, early in their career.
Early.
Mm-hmm.
And anyone else, hello@schaaf.agency. That's how you can reach us. Or we're on LinkedIn. We're always around. We're always on the internet.
That's where you guys met.
Yeah,
It is.
we hang out.
The internet. Wonderful. Well, I hope people reach out, and I appreciate you both coming on. I'm excited to follow you guys along for the long haul in this career of ours, in this industry of ours. So, heck yeah.
Thanks, Gino.
Thanks for
Keep it
having
up.
me on your podcast. It's brilliant. We like listening to it. Everyone should listen to it. I've learned a lot.
I agree. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.